PNC, America's Black News Channel. Watch us on all major cable providers and major streaming platforms. Finally, news that speaks to us.
Joining me now is Jonathan Friedman. He's PEN America's Director of Free Expression and Education. Jonathan, welcome to Amplified. It's so good to have you. I want you to take a look at this, Jonathan. It's from the Osceola School District in Florida. It says, quote, parents or community members who have a question or a concern regarding a learning task, reading assignment, or other curriculum material may submit a request for review by clicking on the button below and completing the information, end quote. What do you think, Jonathan? Is this parents diming out teachers, or is this a legit concern about what kids are being taught?
Look, there might be some legitimate concerns in parts of the country. It's hard to speak about, how every parent feels, but it's very clear that this is the tail end right now of a campaign that began last year to censor conversations in schools. What I think is not well understood by the public is that many of these transparency bills in different states actually include measures to ban certain divisive concepts in schools. So it's very clear that the effort to introduce transparency, quote unquote, is part of the effort to control and stop how people talk about history, gender, sex, racism, many of the topics that we've seen covered in a lot of the press.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear, Osceola County, it's like right outside of Orlando. It's not some little county in the middle of nowhere of Florida. I mean, this is a major county. Now, Jonathan, it's been asserted that this has all been part of a larger plan. U.S. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy actually put out a Parent Bill of Rights. Number one on the list is the right to know what's being taught in schools and to see the reading material. Now, does it make sense that Congress seems to be in the weeds of local education?
I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's certainly a change from the history of how those issues, local education, have been organized in the history of the United States. What is so striking about this is that it rests on this assumption that parents don't know what's being taught in schools, or that what's happening in schools is so inaccessible to them. I think part of that is taking advantage of feelings that have grown up during the pandemic, when schools were closed, when teaching went online, a feeling of dissatisfaction and frustration among many parents, which is reasonable. But that frustration is being channeled into this idea that the answer is what I honestly feel is a radical form of teacher surveillance. Of course, people, parents, the public has some right to know what's being taught in school, but does that come at the expense of the professional discretion of teachers or librarians to decide how to create craft lessons, or how they should recommend reading materials for young people? This is sort of trending in this direction, where the logical endpoint is one where every parent gets to decide a kind of a la carte education, opting out of whatever they don't like. And the implication in many places is that any material that anyone finds offensive would then be taken out of schools? What if you find science offensive, or math, or in many cases history? Are we just not going to teach that to everybody? There has to be some balance here between parents' rights, students' rights, and rights of teachers and librarians.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm a mother. I was very involved in my child's education. I was one of those people who actually did read the curriculum long before, it was in fashion. I mean, this seems really unrealistic to me, because I saw things I didn't agree with, but I knew it was something my child had to be exposed to. And these issues, they also feel like a bit of a red herring designed to make educators focus on the wrong things. What do you think?
Oh, no, it's absolutely a red herring. I mean, think about the bureaucratic burden that is being proposed here. In some of the bills, and I've seen defenders of the bills frame them as just putting syllabuses online. We're just asking you to put curriculum online. And you just mentioned you've seen curriculum before. Many school districts have curriculum nights, they have parent-teacher interviews, they have PTAs. Turns out there are actually all these ways for interested parents to be active and informed about what's going on in school. This is something different. We're not just talking about taking, school districts or academic standards and throwing them on the internet to make it easier. We're talking about a program for teachers to meticulously report every assignment, every book, every reading, every class material given out. If you show a film in class, if you show a meme, if you show a movie, this is extreme. And the bills not only call for these, public transparency portals where members of the public, or even parents, and in some cases members of the public, could kind of sit there and scrutinize and scan everything that is being taught on any day in any classroom, basically in any school. But what it does is it suggests that that is, requires that level of scrutiny. And what kinds of parents are going to be scrutinizing it? Not, I think, ones who maybe have a great interest in their children's education, but ones who are looking for things to challenge, things to contest, as one Florida bill that's being tabled this week suggests. Mandates would be allowed. And so what we're going to have as a result of this is teachers who are burned out, and parents who are, constantly looking for things to make a big deal about.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's unrealistic. Little Johnny has to leave the room for this film, and little Sally, can't hear this. And these teachers are already overwhelmed. And in fact, this seems more like somebody wanting private school interactions rather than public school.
And it's not just that; it's how the punishments, how punitive many of the bills are. So they have provisions when you read them that I don't think their defenders would even stand by. Things like, if you haven't maintained the record of every meticulous material you're giving out up to the minute, up to the day, then you could be fined in some way. You could be dismissed as a teacher. If parents object to what you're teaching, you could be formally reprimanded or even suspended and never allowed to be teaching in the state again. So there's all kinds of measures in these bills, and that's just for the individual teachers. Sometimes the bills are also coupled with the same kinds of jargon and vague language that we're seeing in the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, or the anti-CRT bills and educational gag orders that we've seen all over the country. So, they're presenting it as though this is a neutral effort, but it's a serious red herring. You can scratch the surface, and right there in the same bills that are calling for transparency are all of these punishments and all of these topics that can't be talked about. So it's very clear that the transparency here is the kind of coupled with the effort to censor and control and police what's being taught.
Yeah, I don't know who would want to be a teacher. We've already got a teacher shortage in some places. They're already underpaid and overworked. Classes are overcrowded. They've got so many other issues going on. So I'm curious, what is your group doing on the ground to help these educators negotiate this chaotic space?
What we're doing right now is trying to help people understand what's in these bills. I think, much like it with, I mentioned the Don't Say Gay bill a minute ago in Florida, there's a lot of misinformation about what the bill actually says and what the bill actually does. And in many cases, similarly, these bills are very vaguely written. They've been written speedily, they've been kind of copycatted across numerous states, so they have similar provisions. I don't think anyone's really thought a lot of this through. It's just kind of a performative politicking to on an issue that some GOP politicians think is going to win them the midterms. But when you scratch the surface, when you read the bills, you feel like you're reading things out of an authoritarian state. And the answer is, I think, for educators to stand up for this. And in many places they have. In Indiana, the number of teachers and librarians who came out to oppose a transparency bill there was effective. And the bill got watered down to a place where it was still bad, but maybe not as extreme, maybe somewhat reasonable. And then you had many of the GOP members who maybe at first were going to vote for the bill say, well, now it was watered down and now they wouldn't support it. And so there has been some success at killing at least one of these bills there. And perhaps that is a formula that could be replicated elsewhere.
Yeah, interesting you called some of this vague because we just talked about that earlier about the Don't Say Gay bill being vague as well. You also mentioned critical race theory, which isn't even being taught in schools. We're going to say that over and over again. It is not being taught in schools. But why do people seem so threatened by this part of American history?
Well, I think there is a long history of backlash to criticism of the American narrative. And clearly, the country is growing. The country is growing more diverse. New information, new voices are coming to the fore, challenging those narratives. And that makes some people uncomfortable and resort to pretty surprising and shocking measures like what we're seeing in all of these bills. You can't say this, you can't teach that. We're going to track everything you're teaching so that we know that you're not saying this and saying that. And I think that just like with the CRT conversation, which has almost, I don't know what small fraction of the national conversation about CRT has actually been about academic scholarship about law. That's what critical race theory originated as. And so, of course, it hasn't been about that. It's a coded language. The people who adopted it said as much, that they were going to just basically sweep in
Right.
all kinds of diversity training that they didn't like under critical race theory. The same thing now is happening with transparency, which is it's also just not what it seems. It's teacher surveillance. It's radical. I mean, this is really extreme
But yeah,
legislation. It would
it
be,
is
it
extreme.
belongs in like a foreign country.